Evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending what time it is from where you are. Welcome to another episode of Grant Talks Funny Bits. Let me just check we've got sound and everything on my end. We have got sound, everything is good. Hopefully you guys are all well. What an interesting week it's been for stage hypnosis, to be fair. I don't know whereabouts in the world you are, but here in the UK, last night a new program came out called Hypnotic on Netflix, which kind of had a really big build-up, and I'm sure some people will see it as a very negative thing. Me personally, I think it's a positive thing. It gets people talking about hypnosis. But I thought the trailer for the show was a lot more exciting than the actual show itself. We have Richard Cole is in the house. Richard Cole, a fantastic Canadian hypnotist. Karen Louise is here as well, and Natasha Stanley is here as well. So guys, don't forget, if you have any questions for tonight's guest, then please do fire them in the comment section, no matter where you're watching. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, or in any of the groups, then that's fine. That's what these are. Carl Stowe is here as well. Carl, I hope you are well. So we've got a fantastic guest tonight, a true pedigree when it comes to hypnotism. Spent many years and trained lots of hypnotists, and now is a very successful hypnotherapist. He's a fantastic guy, and please make him feel very, very welcome. Please welcome Attila, the hypnotist.
Hello, and thank you.
Oh, 1 second, and there he is. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me for this online meeting and gathering of all the hypnotists.
Yes, it's a great. I mean, it started through a hypnotist friend of mine when I was having a bit of a meltdown at the beginning of the COVID thing. A hypnotist friend of mine said, "Do a live stream and just talk to other hypnotists," and it's become its own thing since then, which is really nice. And it's a great place where, you know, the community of hypnotists have kind of come together and share stories and stuff like that. There we go. Oh, Natasha says, nice variety of viewers here today. So we've got Patrick Pickard here as well, Kerry Taggart, Carl Stowe. So we have a mix of hypnotists and hypnotherapists. Interestingly, I mean, you were predominantly a stage hypnotist that moved more into hypnotherapy. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I started out in actually in 1991. The first time I met in Peter Revine. I met Peter Revine in California when I was doing a show, and I was a magician, you believe it or not. And actually, I met him in a magic convention, and I used to have a magic shop in the world's biggest shopping center. So when he came to our city, he invited me to see his show. And then we went to backstage, and he was the first person put the bug in my ear. He says, "Oh yeah, you can learn this stuff, but don't think you can hear with this." And I was like, "What do you mean? You can hear with hypnotherapy?" So then I started to doing courses, and I anything I found on hypnosis, it was medical books, and everybody was against stage hypnosis. So that's even more pushed me into this whole field. So by 1996, actually, I found a school, and I was teaching first just stage hypnosis and then hypnotherapy courses. And then in 2005, actually, you believe it or not, I broke my neck in a car accident coming home from a show. So that kind of settles me down. I have titanium rods in my neck, but I survived. As you can see, I'm here. I'm cool. And I used a lot of hypnosis and self-hypnosis on my own self to heal my body. And then in 2005, I performed in Los Angeles for the American Council of Hypnotist Examiners for their annual convention. And that's when I met Gil Boyne. And we became friends, and he sponsored my stage hypnosis course. And ever since I'm teaching, I pretty much went more into the courses and the trainings. I developed 10 different courses from beginning to all the way to becoming a clinical hypnotherapist. And also I do teach stage hypnosis courses as well.
Fantastic. Tell us about the beginning. You spoke there about Ravine, who is a phenomenal, a legend within the hypnosis industry. But what was your first experience of hypnosis?
When I saw Peter Revine the first time, understand, I only read a couple of little pamphlets, but to actually see the stage hypnosis performance, and this is exactly 30 years ago, 1991. So when I saw him, I thought this guy is the devil himself, or I don't believe in it. I said, I want to learn this. So I learned it. And from being in the business, in the show business, it was easy to transition into the hypno world.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's interesting to speak to a lot of the guests that we have on, and a lot of the very successful stage hypnotists come from an entertainment background. So you're saying then about you were kind of, you had a magic shop, you were already very much into your magic. Do you think that as it's transferred over, that helped in the days of those shows?
Well, I was in the show business since I was a little kid. Like by 16, 17, I was making a living.
Nice.
And then I traveled all over. So then we emigrated to Canada in 1983. So not speaking English, it was a really big difference coming from Europe. And so I just did magic shows in the beginning. As I started learning the English, it was easier to transition, as I said, into the hypnosis world and the hypnotherapy world. But there are similarities in the show business.
Yes, yeah. And I think, being on stage, having that stagecraft in any way, shape or form is all going to be, if you're a good performer on stage, then you're a good performer on stage, no matter what it is that you're delivering as such. I always kind of believe that, like, hypnosis on stage, you're the entertainer, you're the performer first and foremost. Tell us about, to have that foundation and to be learning from some of the absolute greats to start with. But tell us about your first show and how
it was a disaster. I will tell you that. Well, it was actually happened in Canada, in the city of Edmonton, and they hired me to do the show for a Polish hall. So these people were new immigrants, barely speaking English. Me with my accent, a Hungarian accent, doing the show for a Polish community. And no matter what I did, it's just not happened the way I planned it. So I had to learn to adapt and go with the flow. They still liked it, but from my perspective, I thought it was a disaster.
What's Hungary like for stage hypnosis?
In Hungary?
Yeah.
Nobody's doing it.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, in my home country, I trained a guy who was an awesome magician. We were trained by the same master back in Hungary when we were kids. So he moved to New Zealand, to Japan, to Hungary back, and from Los Angeles. And so I trained him to become a stage hypnotist. However, it's very difficult because the entire media is trying to debunking hypnosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a profession, hypnosis still doesn't exist.
Oh, wow. I must admit, Budapest is one of my favorite cities in the world. I've been there a few times now, and yeah, it's always, for me, it's fascinating. Certain countries where stage hypnosis doesn't exist. I know Belgium, it's illegal to use hypnosis for entertainment forms over there, and various different countries have different rules on it. Here in the UK, we have some regulations that make it quite complicated sometimes to perform, while in America it's very widely accepted. So, you've traveled the world performing hypnosis as well.
Well, I wouldn't say the world, but I did travel a lot, a lot of countries.
Yeah. Who do you think are I don't know if the term is easiest, but the easiest people to hypnotize?
It's a very interesting question. Ethnic-wise, I found it the North American, what we call Indians, the North American Aboriginal Native people, they are very spiritual. And it was very easy to work with them to accomplish the participation and accomplishing the trance state. And when you say sleep, and it was easy. However, to get them actually act out the suggestions, because they are shy by culture, it was a lot more difficult. And the same I found with East Indian people, very spiritual, yet it was very different to get them get going and acting out. Yeah. And also because I use more like a theme in the entire show settings when I was doing shows, it was, if they culturally did not adopt or didn't understand, the typical American music, the American movies, the jokes, then it's just not happening the same way. Give you a hint. My finales, for example, is using the village people sometimes. I think it's a classical for stage hypnosis. So let's say I did a show in Europe and they don't understand the meaning of these words, so they don't understand. So they go around dancing around, but it's just not coming across the same way as in Canada or in America or in England, for example.
There you go. So yeah, Julie says, I do believe spiritual people are easy to hypnotize, but yes, even more so ones who are open. Absolutely, Julie. I think it's because I think spiritual people, as well as people that do meditation, yoga, you're working in that part of the brain. So yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you.
The
Oh, if I may interrupt, sorry about that. To finish it up, also I've worked many times in high schools or in universities, and what I found in high school settings, for example, when I had kids and teachers on the stage at the same times, the shows just did not happen the same if I did it separately. Because I think the adults on the stage mixed with the teenagers, they were more holding the kids back instead of allowing them to, you know what I mean? The psychological effect was different.
Yeah. I think the teachers don't want to lose their sense of authority in front of their students, if you know what I mean. So yeah, absolutely. You mentioned then about the village people for the ending. There's a guy here in the UK, and again, traveled the world, called Dave Rawson, who does a fantastic version of the YMCA, but he hypnotizes them into doing it the wrong letters. So I think they do the MCAY, or they do it
exactly.
Wrong. And it's so interesting to see how the unconscious automatically does it the wrong way, rather than the automatic YMCA way. So it's a great skit, is that. But yeah, interesting point that I think sometimes the biggest reason why people don't follow the suggestions if they don't understand the suggestions, and sometimes we can overcomplicate them. So
keep the suggestions simple to be able to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've done lots of great things, but tell us about some challenges that you faced along the way. Either a standout show where it was very complicated, it was very difficult, or something weird happened. But tell us about your most difficult, most challenging show.
Sometimes the most challenging show can be that you go back to the same place and you recognize some of the people who were in your show previously. So you make that assumption, if they come up on your stage, it's going to be a great show. However, they might have different personal issues, they might be in a different state of mind, and they just don't participate the same way as they win the last show for you, for example. I went through that. I had to learn that once I did a show in Calgary for a police academy. And actually, there was a Mountie dressed up in uniform, and he responded greatly for the sleep suggestions. But when I gave him any other suggestion, he refused to do anything else. So I had to come. I am a nice guy, so I always give more indirect type of suggestions, more of the Ericksonians, and I let them go with the flow to create on their own personalities. And that's when it hit me. I'm in front of all these policemen. He's in a uniform. So I said, close your eyes. And I gave him an order. I said, you are in the academy. You have to do the best Michael Jackson impersonation. When you open your eyes, you do it. And immediately when I gave him an order, he jumped and did it.
Yes.
So I had to learn that time to recognize the power when to using direct or indirect suggestions.
Yeah. Great point you made then as well. That when you see someone, that you've had a great show before, you see someone you recognize, kind of a lot of the books, a lot of the trainings kind of all said, if you've hypnotized somebody before, then they'll go under so much easier the next time. But like you said, then that's not always the case.
Not at all.
You're expecting it to be brilliant, but that person has got something going on that is different from the last time. So yeah, that's a really, really great point, is that. Yeah. So, I mean, you like I said, you've done a lot within the hypnosis community. What's your favorite show that you've done? Do you have one that stands out, whether it be a country, a venue, a type of people? Tell us about your nicest story.
The nicest feeling I can relate to, it was actually when Gil Boyne asked me to do a show for the convention in Los Angeles. It was in 2006. So understand I had about 300, maybe 350 people, all professionals. And I had Ormond McGill, Gil Boyne, Randall Churchill, the big names, Dr. Joan Butler, sitting in the front row.
Wow.
So honest to God, because my show is different than generally most of the hypnotist shows. It's not a classical show. So when I finish my show and there's total silence, and I tell you, honest to God, like I couldn't even talk, or I was so nervous. My stomach just crumpled up into the nervous, and suddenly they started to clap. So then Gil Boyne stood up, and then Ormond Megia stood up, and then everybody followed, and so I established my name into the profession, and that was the biggest, the most accomplished feeling ever I had.
Yeah. I mean, a standing ovation is always a great feeling when it happens. But to get a standing ovation from Ormond McGill and Gil Boyne, I don't think you can really top that.
I don't think you can do that.
That's the end of the show. That's absolutely fantastic. And it's weird because, I mean, they are legends within the industry and pioneers, especially Gil Boyne. And it's interesting to look now at who those people are going to be in 10 years' time, if you know what I mean. Who that's a hypnotist now that is making names for themselves and putting themselves out there. How are we going to look back then? I'm a big believer in people should train from as many people as they possibly can, because you can learn so much from just about anybody and everybody that's out there doing it. How were things with you? What was your transition from giving up stage to kind of going more into the therapy and the training side of things? What was your motivation for
that? I got fascinated by the idea, actually, what happens in the brain. How is it possible that seemingly from an outside perspective, it looks like we have full control and power over people? And that was the strange feeling that this can't be true. You know what I mean? It almost seems like that people put themselves on a silver plate to you to control them, and that's how it looked like, but it isn't the case.
No.
Sometimes no matter what you do, they refuse to participate.
Yeah. Just going back there, Julie's got a great question. She says, what a lovely chap, which wants to know what the certificates are behind you.
I'm sorry, because somebody typed in something and it popped up, and I was focusing on you and on the writing at the same time. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, Julie says, what a lovely chap, and can she ask what the certificates are behind you?
These are basically hypnotherapy certification. Also, I finished a psychology, nutritional science degree. I do teach a lot of courses, all the way to clinical hypnotherapy.
Fantastic.
And also some of these certifications, renewable yearly or every second year, depends. Also for my school certification as a teacher. I thought I'm going to sit here in my therapy office to make it look like a little bit more impressive.
I always think it's a great thing having the certificates, because they are in and of themselves a suggestion to that client when they comes in. It shows that authority. It shows that you know your stuff. And like most good hypnotists, you are constantly learning, evolving, retraining, training other people. And I think there's a great thing that somebody mentioned to me a couple of years ago, and I think it's so true, that you actually get a better understanding of a subject when you have to train somebody else how to do it, because you kind of go back and remember the things that you forgot, if that makes sense.
Many times, yes. Many times people ask me about, so do you think you can hypnotize me? And I'm like, do you think, can I dehypnotize you from this thought? And also, many times they're thinking that they can't learn this. And I tell them, listen, the first induction, what I did, I read it from a little pamphlet, what I bought for 75 cents. I was practicing with my friends in the living room. Just by reading it and they follow the suggestions, they go into a trance. But what you're going to do with them once they are in a trance, that's the important part. It's easy to accomplish that 8 to 10 minutes induction. It's almost like you're learning a poem. You're gonna say these things. People participate, it will happen. But when it happens, there is each individual personalities. What you're gonna do with them? For example, in the show.
Yeah, I think that's it. Sometimes it's simplicity is what makes it complicated to a lot of people because they think it can't be that simple. And once you understand that, you can spend your time polishing on your stage presence and your delivery and everything else that makes a good show. Richard Cole has a great question. A fellow Canadian, he says, how have you kept yourself busy during COVID?
I'll be frank with you that I'm mostly teaching now online. Like just the way as we're doing it here, I'm teaching online classes, including even stage hypnosis courses I teach online. I even have a 10 DVD set, which is available to purchase if somebody wants it. And I didn't mean to advertise my products or whatever, but if you don't mind, it's here the full set. Even an extra bonus is me and Gil Boyne doing rapid inductions together in Los Angeles together. So it's also has a 200 pages PDF booklet there for how I do my shows.
Brilliant, fantastic. So yeah, weirdly, like I think before COVID, the online training thing for me had a perceived lesser value. Since COVID, I think the online training has more of a value because I can stay at home. I don't have to travel for 2 or 3 days. I don't have to travel around the world. I can stay at home and I can learn from people almost face to face. So I do believe that online training is absolutely the future.
And you know what, if I may say, you can also have a few people together in one room.
Yes.
And you can tell them what to do and they can practice on each other. So it's almost like you are present, but on a video clip or in a live streaming, basically. That's what I meant.
Yes. Can the link to that DVD set, is that on your website?
Just to go to products.
Oh, there you go. I'll put up that picture there. That should bring in a link on the comment section that should take them directly to that website as well.
AttilaHypnotist.com, and there's a link to products if somebody wants it. But please talk to me, phone me first, or get a hold of me on Messenger. I'm more than happy to talk first. You can also on YouTube, you can see a lot of my live videos. The last shows what I did, it was in 2010. That's when I finished the 10 years contract. I was doing Canada's biggest Christmas party. There were like 3,000-4,000 people. Size show. You will see video clips on the YouTube.
Wow.
It was like basically run in a stadium.
Yes. So let me just change this link because I've just realised as I've put it up, I've put the wrong link up, but I shall fix that as we go because this is live and that's the joys of doing things live. There we go. That should be fixed again now. So let me just get rid of that. Bring that back up again and that should have brought up a different link. There we go. How have you found the transition from going from kind of live shows to, you mentioned then about YouTube, we've got TikTok, we've got Instagram. How do you think that will affect stage hypnosis or people's perception of hypnosis going forward?
If you look at this as a possibility to grow personally, this is a great time for everybody to start to putting everything into their mind and put together great shows. Because look, once they're going to open up after this COVID, everybody wants to have entertainment. Everybody wants to party. Everybody wants to go back to normal.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do see huge potentials for us now to perfecting our field, our craft. Because look, when you are busy, when you are working, you are only doing the same thing over and over, almost, you are in a routine job. There were sometimes when I did 364 shows in a year.
Wow.
So, how you going to, what do you do? It's almost like you repeat. I had 10 different 2-hour shows.
Wow.
So each time, when a client called me back, but now at this moment, instead of going numb and thinking, oh, what am I going to do or whatever, you can design, you can think, you can create an entire new settings.
Yeah. It's such a great point is that as well about, you kind of want to be busy doing shows, and then when you get busy doing shows, if you're not reinventing yourself, if you're not kind of changing things up, it affects your mind, and you're just going through the motions, and it becomes a job then. So yeah, by having those different ones, it really does make a big difference.
And my shows were most of the time people had open eyes.
Yeah.
So I used a lot of open eye suggestions. I hypnotize them, and there's a structure how creating this to keep people, even who are not active in the show, so they don't come out of the hypnotic trance. I keep them always and that's in the very beginning. A lot of people, they didn't understand how come that Attila show the people's eyes are open.
That's a great way of getting people to ask those questions as well. Good point that you said about not getting rid of people that aren't necessarily performing. Sometimes people go into hypnosis greatly, but don't necessarily become good performers. But you don't just want to dismiss them for that. So Julie's got another great point there as well, saying not just for entertainment, but actually support and help through hypnosis. I think what she means is kind of during the COVID process, people have kind of took that time to think inwardly, especially away from all the distractions that they've had in their normal day-to-day lives. So people are more interested in their own personal psychology and what makes them think as well.
At the moment, everybody's affected by this. People are losing their jobs. We have been locked inside. It's almost like a worldwide depression happening with this COVID. So anytime when I talk to people, I try to get them out of the idea. I said, listen, instead of crying and instead of going down in your mental state, start to becoming creative and start to look into hobbies, start to create something. You might discover things about yourself you never even knew. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you are so busy with life, you may not go into just like, for example, we started doing more gardening. Yeah. Just as a simple thing.
So Julie says we've had many people during COVID who've had problems, so hypnosis may help. Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I find as a performer. I have a responsibility when I'm on stage doing a demonstration, is I want somebody in that audience to go, oh, if that guy can make them do that, then surely a hypnotherapist can help me with the issue that I've got. And I think stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy work hand in hand, done well. One promotes the other as such. So,
if I may say something to people who wants to become a stage hypnotist, I suggest them to learn also hypnotherapy. I tell you why. After every single show, I was standing in lines for hours talking to the people, bombarding me with questions. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And so that when I realized that, okay, I learned entertainment business, that was easy transition. Now I want to study hypnotherapy. You know what? And most of my clients actually became from the shows. Yeah. That's how I started doing my hypnotherapy.
Yeah. I always encourage like hypnotherapists. It was a weird thing at the moment I've found is you get some hypnotherapists that are looking to develop their skill set and get more clients. So then kind of do a stage hypnosis training. And I always say, well, at least go to a couple of shows first, experience stage hypnosis. But I think all therapists should also learn a little bit of stage hypnosis for when there are places where they can do impromptu demonstrations, because they're the things that make people go, oh, wow, and kind of book onto it. So especially like if any hypnotherapists are watching this and wanting to learn stage stuff, then click on that link for Attila's kind of trainings and online trainings, and you'll do absolutely fantastic with that as well.
And Gil Boyne told me one thing. He says, Attila, generally speaking, people are attacking the stage hypnotist, but the reality, the stage hypnotists are the one who keep the word hypnosis alive in world. If there would be no stage hypnotist, most people wouldn't even look into hypnosis. So this is also pushes the possibility for hypnotherapy.
Yes.
And also among us, stage hypnotists and hypnotherapists should unite to help each other. Instead of trying to, oh, you are just a stage hypnotist. You know what I mean? We should unite because we are representing a field of the subconscious mind.
Absolutely. Julie's got a great point. She says, are you both stage hypnotists or therapists? I'm a stage hypnotist that doesn't I don't really do therapy. I understand therapy. I've trained in therapy, but I don't do it. Attila is a stage hypnotist that is now a world-renowned therapist as well. There we go. Oh, Carl Stowe says, I'll drop some cards to hand out, Grant. Carl Stowe is I think he's just qualified as a hypnotherapist from a hypnotherapy school here in Yorkshire in the UK. So yeah. So in your years of doing this, is there any moments where you have seen a demonstration of hypnosis that has been profound, that's kind of caught your breath away? I mean, I've seen a couple of things that again, still I find really great demonstrations of hypnosis. What about yourself?
You mean like what is the great demonstration I like, or if I rephrase your question, what do I like the most? Honestly, what I like the most is to give out a suggestion based on the person's characteristic, the way they look, their body, physical shape, everything, and allow them to create and go with that. Sometimes I didn't even say nothing. Let's say you might find a video clip of this on YouTube on me. I had a guy who was fantastic performer, responded greatly to everything. And so I just went and I picked up a broom, and the sailor had like a little sailor's hat, just like a white cap. And we just started to playing in the background, the Popeye. No. I didn't have to say a word. You know what I mean? So, and another time I saw a guy who got hypnotized in the audience, and he kind of resembled like Mr. Bean. And so I said, close your eyes, just come up on stage. He sits down. I said, close your eyes again. Next time you open your eyes, you know who you are. You know how you look like. Just act like him. You are the one and only. Open your eyes. And he immediately went into the Mr. Bean routine on his own.
Brilliant. Do you know what? I was going to say, like, my favorite suggestion is like an amnesia thing. But you know what? From just saying what you're saying, now, actually, no, I don't even know my own mind. Those are my favorite suggestions. When the suggestion itself is so subtle, it looks like magic, where it just happens all by itself. I think they can be some of the absolutely best ones. So, yeah. Richard Cole says, where do you see the future of stage hypnosis shows going?
I think stage hypnosis was always present. When we go back to the vaudeville shows, you go back to Ormond McGill, doesn't matter. Gil Boyne was a stage hypnotist in the beginning, and I do believe it's only going to grow. There are still misconceptions. The general public still doesn't understand. There is still the boogie out there that you have some kind of evil mind controlling people. So I do see huge potentials by educating the public and understanding that actually hypnosis is a powerful tool for getting better, to accomplishing our dreams and our goals. Look, if you think about it, what is the motivational speakers? What do? They motivate you emotionally. Most people think of hypnosis that, I hypnotize you and then you're going to act out certain things. Yes, it looks that way. Okay, but hypnosis is nothing, basically activating emotions.
Yes, absolutely.
And I do believe it's going to grow more and more and more. We have a great growth.
Yeah, and it's weird, like with the I say the invention, but with TikTok becoming as popular as it was, when it first came out, was adamant I was having nothing to do with TikTok. I don't do dance routines. I'm not into any of that. But Natasha, who's in the comment section, kind of told me, she's like, you need to put small demonstrations, like 1-minute demonstrations from your show on TikTok, because it helps you reach a new audience. And I think there's so much about embracing those new technologies and those new audiences that drive people back into it. And it did me really well. I've had genuine bookings from shows that have been on TikTok, which for me, I think, how can you do a demonstration in 60 seconds that's going to get people's attention? But it really does. So I think we've got to keep putting it out there, YouTube's really great for hypnosis at the moment. There's some really great content out there. And guys, if you're watching this as well, please do subscribe to Attila's YouTube channel, as well as the Grant Saunders Hypnotist YouTube channel as well. It always helps. Again, COVID happened. You've now gone online with the training. What do you think the effects of COVID is going to be? I know I've done some shows with masks. I don't do shows with masks anymore. The social distancing, I don't think is really a thing anymore. I've done shows where people aren't bothered about that now. Do you think COVID will have some after effects that are going to stay with stage hypnosis, or do you think we'll come out of this all guns blazing?
Once I do believe we're going to go back to the normal life, okay, and I do believe it's going to happen, okay, I do, as I said it before, people will go back and they're going to do it. So hypnotherapists, here is what I can suggest. If there are hypnotherapists listening, learn stage hypnosis, take courses. You know why? Because you can also utilize the understanding how to work groups, sessions. Yeah. Now you can create seminars. You can create educational, motivational seminars for corporations. How you can create cohesional unity in a corporation. You know what I mean? How you can motivate kids, schools, universities, and you can use a couple of simple hypnotic demonstrations. You know, the power of the mind sort of suggestions, you know, hand closure, suggestibility test, and this and that, and create actually, now instead of working one-on-one for $80 or $150 an hour, you can do an entire audience of 200, 300, 400 people, seminars. And I think that's a great direction to go these days.
Yeah. And I can flip that the other way as well for stage hypnotists. If you've got some of that knowledge from the hypnotherapy side of things as well, and motivation, you can put on a show in a corporate environment under the guise of mindset without the pressure of having these people to perform silly and hilarious routines. You can have people doing very basic hypnotic phenomena and the audience is in an absolute awe from it because you're just demonstrating the power of the mind. But it's the same format as a show. You're getting people up on stage, but you're not making them do ridiculous things or dance like ballerinas. You're getting them to just, you know, focus and visualize. So, yeah.
Can I tell you a little story here, if you guys want to hear? I was performing for a doctor's convention in Banff Spring Hotel. It's a fancy one of those, you know, hotels in the mountains in Canada. So I'm already running late of the show. They don't start on time, and suddenly there is somebody goes on stage and they just announce me to bring me on stage. Wow, that was totally out of control. So because I have an intro, everything is recorded, I'm controlling the room, everything is lights set up, everything. So suddenly they just pull me up on stage to talk. So I lost the impact, you know what I mean? Yeah. And here is this big dude who is the highest, whatever, I don't know how they call this, the professor, sits in the front row, pulls his chair out in the front row in front of the stage, and he puts his leg across like this, and he says, "Impress us." And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do with a bunch of doctors here? So he took over the show in the beginning. So I said to them, I said, as you are educated people, you understand the human brain has two hemispheres, the conscious and the subconscious mind. Now, some of you might think you cannot be hypnotized. I said, please put your hand up in the air if you think you cannot be hypnotized. So of course, they're giggling. I said, now look, to be able to hypnotize, you need both hemispheres of the brain, the conscious and the subconscious mind. If you did put your hand up in the air, I said, you're basically telling me that half of your brain is missing. So please pick one, which one? And of course, they're laughing and giggling. And then I said, listen, also you learned it in school, I'm sure, that the more IQ, the higher intelligence you have, you know, the higher your IQ, the easier for you to get hypnotized. And they welcomed on stage. Guess who was the star of the show? The professor. He had to subconsciously prove it. He is the smartest guy of the group.
Yeah. And that's such... But we all know the importance of a pre-talk at the beginning of the show. But that's so important to not have your pre-talk as rote, so you just say it constantly. you've got to adapt it to the audience that you've got in front of you, so that you can be so fluid and so flexible to make that work just for them. So that's a great bit. I always ask the guests this question as well. But if you were to recommend 2 hypnosis books to the people watching this,
in what field? It depends on what field we are looking at. Regression therapy, just general hypnosis.
General hypnosis or stage hypnosis?
General hypnosis, Dave Allman book, Hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
Dave Allman's well known. He was a stage hypnotist. He was a radio announcer. His son is actually a great friend of mine, Larry, and his wife Cheryl. We did courses together in Hungary. If somebody wants to go into regression therapy, it's a different field. If I may say, don't mix up spirituality into the professional hypnotism. Kind of keep it separated, because I want to, how do I say, I will deal with it if it comes up. Okay, but I'm not a palm reader, or I'm not a trickster. Keep it separate and keep it professionally. But Dave Allman book would be the greatest to get started with anybody who wants to get into this field.
Yes. So Julie just says she so wants to meet this man. So you've definitely got a fan in Julie as well. So I'll just put up a link there as well. It should appear somewhere in the comment section. And that is to the Amazon shop where the Dave Allman book is as well. So yeah. And if you were to give a golden nugget, a piece of advice for someone that's either going from therapy into learning stage stuff, or someone that's starting doing stage and starting to up their game a little bit, if you were to give one golden nugget and to compress all your learnings and everything down into one golden nugget is a challenge of itself. But if you were to give one golden nugget that you think does get passed over that people don't share, what would that be?
Good question. I'm going to say a bunch of things in one as a big gold nugget. Okay. So, first of all, I want you to create in your mind what you want to do. And then start to visualize it actually as you are doing it. See yourself walking out on the stage. See yourself looking at down the audience. I tell you why. Because anybody who haven't accomplished this, and they're going to put you on a stage, and there are going to be spotlights. You are on a huge stage. There's 300, 400 people in front of you in an audience, like in a theater settings. Okay, and you're not going to see anybody because you are blinded by the spotlight. So you have to become comfortable and secure enough within yourself. You are performing to a dark room, yet there is 400 people sitting in front of you, and you don't have a feedback from their faces. You know what I mean? And amateurs or beginners, they got lost. They got nervous because there is no feedback energy. You don't see anyone. You know what I mean? That's one. So practice, visualize, and see yourself doing what you're doing. Second, become flexible and trainable. Your rigid mentality, what you have in your head, what you think about this, it can actually destroy your show or your performance. So look at all the angles, what possibilities are all out there, and what can I do and how can I change. And the third one is the most important is don't try to write down a skit for your show. Have a general idea of what you want to do. And the show is through a three structure. It has to be a beginning, a filler, a middle, and the finale. And your finale has to be a bang.
Yeah.
The finale, what does it mean to be a bang? When you finish your show, your audience has to go automatically into cheering, into a clapping mode. If it didn't happen, you haven't had a bang. So you start the show with a bang, you finish it up with a bang. And this is my golden nugget to get started.
Absolutely. You know, amazing advice. And that is three golden nuggets there. And Julie says that advice can go to anyone in life. Practice and visualize what you want. Thank you. So that is brilliant. So Attila, it's been fantastic to have you on, and it's been great to talk to you. Do you have any final words and final comments for the people watching?
Don't be scared. Just do it, experience it, and adopt and change when something is not working. Brilliant.
There's a link gone back up to your website there for you. Attila, thank you very much for joining us. Guys, please do subscribe to Attila on YouTube. Check out his website. Check out that set of DVDs as well. And yes, absolutely fantastic. Attila, thank you very much. Guys, thank you for joining us this week. And shall see you next week. Same time, same place. For another episode of Grant Talks.
Grant, thank you, and thank you for everybody who was watching and listening. And if anybody wants to talk to me, just find me on Facebook on the Messenger. I'm more than happy to talk. If I don't answer right away, I am working.
Yes.
Usually Monday or Tuesdays, I'm open.
Fantastic. Attila, thank you very much.
You were awesome, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.